Welcome, everyone. We are doing a session on Inyane Zman, the issues of time. And we're in the month of Kislev coming up, and we are also, that's the month of Hanukkah. So we had a question from one of the Talmidim. One of the students asked, what is the connection between this month of Kislev, the month of Hanukkah, and the month of Sivan, which is the month of Shavuos? I'll give the Torah. Now, when the student figured out there's a connection, I don't know how he figured that out. So kudos to you, Yaakov. But there is a connection. So because the question is so good, I have to explain, God willing, what is the connection between those 2 months. So again, the month of Kislev, that's this month. And we're going to try to see it's connected to the month of Sivan, the month where we get the Torah. There is a connection we'll discuss. But let's get into the month of Kislev itself. Now, the months are very, very deep. We've discussed this many, many times. The Sefer Yetzirah, the famous, call it a masterpiece of wisdom that was given to us through Avraham Avinu. The Sefer Yetzirah is traced to Avraham Avinu, and it's a very esoteric book and a book of meditative ways to create realities. And in the Sefer Yetzirah, it goes at one point through the months, and every month lines up with a certain letter, a certain action, a certain part of the body, okay, and an astrological sign, as well as every month lines up with a certain tribe. There are 12 months, there are 12 tribes. Okay, that's not an accident. We've said many, many times, when you have any item that is a three-dimensional object, when you count the sides of it, you'll count as 12 sides. 12 is the expansion. Okay, so there's Yaakov, and he has 12 tribes. 12 is the full expansion in this world, and so there are 12 months, there are 12 tribes, and these are all connected to different ways of how Hashem, how God reveals reality through the different times. So I want to talk about Kislev a little bit, and we'll talk about some aspects of what the Sefer Yetzirah says it's lined up with, and then we're going to see how it connects with, as the question was from the students, from Yaakov, how it connects to the month of Sivan, and does it. So, what does the Sefer Yetzirah say about the month of Kislev? It says the letter of the month of Kislev is the letter Samech. Samech is a circle, okay? Samech, and that is the letter of the month of Kislev. Okay, we'll do that. What's the action that's lined with the month of Kislev? The action lines up with it is the action of sleep, which is strange because, simply put, maybe sleep is not a positive action. Right? The Gemara says sleep is good for Rishayim because bad people, when they sleep, are not doing bad things. It's good for them, it's good for the world. For righteous people, sleep is not good because they could be doing positive things. It's not good for the world because they could be moving the world further along where it should be. Now, but that being said, obviously sleep has a certain positive quality. Everything, generally, everything does has the ability to be used for good or bad. And sleep, the Gemara says, the deeper, the Gra brings down, the Lavan says that it says that when you're awake, there's a certain process of learning, understanding that you get. And then when you sleep, it's a different process of assimilation of that information, right? It's let's call it a more, when you sleep, your part of your soul leaves you, and your imagination is sort of unbridled. And in a certain sense, we even talked about before that that your soul, when some of it has detached from your conscious existence, is able to connect to spiritual forces. That's why some dreams have an aspect of prophecy to it, because as the Derech Hashem says, the soul can connect with spiritual forces, send back a message through your subconscious, through your imagination. You could see it in the form of a dream. But sleep, therefore, has a positive connotation. That's a very different time of different way of thinking, a different method of thinking than the conscious mind when you're awake. And we'll see, therefore, how that quality of sleep in Kislev is actually very deep, very fundamental to the power of Kislev, which again, which we know we'll somehow talk about, is the month of Hanukkah. Okay. Now, what tribe does Kislev line up with? So there are different ways to calculate what tribe lines up with which month. They're all true because every tribe has different components where they share certain qualities, they overlap, and there's different aspects. But we're going to follow today the process of the Arizal, who lines up the months with the encampment in the desert. So, okay, so the first encampment was Yehuda, and the first month is Nisan, and the second, in the desert, the second tribe that had the encampment was Yisachar. That line up with the second month, and third and fourth, and that way. So according to that calculation, who does Kislev line up with? Kislev lines up with Binyamin. Binyamin is the last of the two sons of Rachel. She has Yosef first, and she has Binyamin. You know that she died. It was her soul left her when Binyamin was born. She called him Ben Oni, the son of her affliction, which the word On also means strength. And then Yaakov called him Binyamin, the son of the right. Is the right hand. Binyamin is a very unique character, a sage, tzaddik. He's called Yedid, and he's called a dear one to Hashem, and that's the right hand. He's Binyamin. Yedid is hand, it's the right. And Binyamin is one of the four people that never sinned. And what Binyamin's, one of his qualities is that Binyamin merited that the Beis HaMikdash is in his territory. Okay, he is the quality of the temple is in his place. There's only one little ratsua, one little strip that belongs to Yehuda that runs into the place of the temple, and it takes over a little bit of the mizbeach, the altar, and it says that Binyamin is chayfef alav, he hovers over it, and the Gemara says all day he wants to swallow and take back that part that's not in his territory. He so much wants the Beis HaMikdash to reside in his place that he is sort of has angst over the fact that there's one piece that does not extend into it, his part, and he yearns to bring it in. So we got to understand here today, God willing, the month of Kislev, what it means it's Hanukkah, what it means it's Binyamin, what it means that the letter is the Samech, and why it's connected to sleep. Why is that a good thing? Why is that sleep? Why is it Binyamin? And then we'll answer, God willing, the question that was asked. How does it line up with the month of Sivan? Again, how the Talmud knew that, I don't know exactly, but it does line up with the month of Sivan. And how does it, which is the month we got the Torah, how does it and does it line up? And we'll see that. Okay, let us begin by talking about the letter Samech. Now, Samech is a unique letter because it's a circle. There are only two letters in the Torah that are closed. There's the Samech, and then there's the final Mem, which is a box. So that's a box, and the Samech is a circle. Now, that's going to be a very unique quality. It's not accidental. The Gemara says that the tablets, the luchos, the tablets, the Ten Commandments, they were engraved through and through. Now, if you have a letter that's not fully closed, like the Samech or the Mem, so then we understand how, if it's engraved through and through, it could still remain in place because it's connected to the stone. But if you have a circle, a Samech, or you have a closed Mem, final Mem, then how does the middle part remain? It should fall down. So the Talmud says that the Samech and the Mem stood up miraculously. They stayed the middle part of the circle, the middle part of the closed Mem, that stayed there miraculously. Okay, so we can understand that in a simple way, which means that, physically it couldn't stay there. So the miracle stayed there. But obviously everything we know in the Torah is endless depths. So we're going to try to give one other explanation of the deeper meaning of what it means that the Samech and the Mem stood up miraculously. Now, one other thing that's interesting about the Samech and the Mem is that the Samech and the Mem, when you put it together, it spells the word Sam, which can mean a drug, or it could be the Samut, to blind someone, to make them not see. And as a matter of fact, it is the name of the force of negativity that conceals truth in the world, the force we call the Satan, that God created the force that conceals it. The name is called Satan. Satan, which is also known as the Yetzer Hara, our individual block, or the Malach HaMavis, the force that is death, which is the force that conceals things from us. This force's actual name is Samel. Samael is the Samech and the Mem, which means to blind, to conceal, and then Kel, Avlamen, is the name of God. So Samel is the name of this force that conceals God in the world. So it's not an accident that the Samech and the Mem are two letters that stay miraculously in the tablets, and they actually spell the first part of the name of the force that's meant to conceal. How do we understand that? So the deeper understanding that the Samech Men stand the Nace, the miracle, is, as we'll see, there's something about when I can see things clearly in the world, so then I could say it's within my realm. It's within my realm. But when something is blocked and blocking and blinding, then it needs to be maintained through a higher reality. Okay? So in other words, I see clearly, I know what's true. Okay, it makes sense to me. But sometimes you don't see. Sometimes you're blind. And there, how do you get out of it? Right? He said that Avram had, this soy the test. What's the test? I mean, okay, a person wants to, eat a cheeseburger. That's a test. It's difficult. Maybe he loves them, but it's not called a test. The test is the Nisayan has the word nace, which means a miracle. It means that the logic that you understand, it doesn't make sense. You don't know where to go. If I know this is right and this is wrong, so it may be hard, but it doesn't have the quality of the word Nisayan, which means a test, contains in the word nace. It's a supernatural quality to get through. It's a miracle that you succeeded. It's a miracle that Avram was able to stand within these 10 tests. Well, why is it different than every other challenge I have in my life? Because the real test, the real Nisayan that needs the quality of a miracle, the nace, is when what I don't understand, I don't know what to do. Avram is stuck. On one hand, it says Hashem told him Yitzchak will be the future, and that's the miracle, and that's what he's supposed to do. On the other hand, there's a message that shecht him. The Meshiloch is an amazing thing. He says this prophecy, amazing thing. He says this prophecy was different than other prophecies. It wasn't a clear prophecy. If it was, then it wouldn't be such a great test. It was a great test. It was a test. It's amazing. He says the reason why it's a great test is because it was a vague communication that only if you were totally pure and clear you would pick it up. Otherwise, you would have understood it differently. If a guy wasn't willing to sacrifice his son, he would not even heard the commandment of Hashem to do it. So Abraham's test was like, he heard it, but it was not a clear, direct statement. Okay, you want to do this? No, do that. It wasn't. He understood on one hand, Yitzhak is the future. It's the whole purpose of life. And now he gets this this sort of transmission that he's picking up that needs to remove it. And that's the son that's beyond because he's blind. And that's maybe the deeper meaning that the samech and the mem are b'neis omdin. The samech and the mem are staying in the level of a miracle because it's when the power is given to these forces that conceal reality. Power is given to the Satan. His job is to conceal, and sometimes you can't see. Now, okay, let's go further in the amazing samech. Samech. Now, the samech is a circle. And if you think about it, it's a fascinating thing because a circle in one way is a very high thing, is very lofty in the sense that it encompasses and it contains everything that if you're in the middle of a circle, everything's equidistant around you and above you. But a circle has another connotation, which is that you can be trapped in a circle. I'm going in circles. And that really is the deeper quality of this samech that blinds us. Samech and the closed men that can blind us, the quality is that you can get trapped in a circle and not get out. Let me explain. There's an amazing mitzvah, amazing commandment of bikurim. Bikurim is bringing the first fruits. Now, bikurim, I mean, we can talk about it as a mitzvah, but it has some qualities that we think, okay, you bring the first fruit. It's infinitely deeper than that. As a matter of fact, it says that Moshe saw that bikurim was going to be, we won't be able to bring bikurim someday when the temple is destroyed. And he said a prayer. So prayer, all the three prayers that we have is somehow trying to fulfill the void that we lost by we don't bring our first fruits. Now, what is this first fruits? The first fruits was like this. You come to the land of Israel. This commandment is not dependent on the land. It needs the land, but it also needs the Beis Hamikdash. And what happened was, when there's a Beis Hamikdash, there was a tree that was growing, and the tree that was growing, and yeah, I'm sorry I got cut off there. Something happened. So we were talking about the idea of the bikurim, the first fruits, and I was explaining how the mitzvah bikurim is so important, and you had to bring it when we came to the land of Israel. But not only in the land, you had the temple. We're talking about that. So I'm just going to continue because I got cut off for a minute. So the law was you bring your first fruit and you bring it to the temple and you say, these are the first fruits. God has brought me to my place. And that's why it has to be a temple, because it has to be your place. You have to have that sense of being connected to where your real original root is. Now, there's a fascinating thing in this law of bikurim, of bringing the first fruit. So what happens is that the Baal Turim, one of the commentaries, says that if you look in the whole portion of the first fruit, there's one letter that does not appear in the whole story of the commandment of the first fruit, and that's the letter Samach. Well, why does it not appear? So the question, why doesn't it appear? So the Baal Turim says, listen, even though it doesn't appear, there's a hint at the letter Samach. What's the hint? It says you take the fruit and you put it into a vessel and you bring it to the temple. You say, these are my first fruits, God. But the word for the basket for this vessel is a unique word called ten. Ten, which is spelled tet nun aleph, and every letter has a numerical value. Tet is 9, nun is 50, it's 59, and aleph is 1, 60. Samech is the numerical value of 60. So Tena is the same as the Samech. Samech is missing, But you have the word tena, a unique, strange word for basket, which is also the numerical value of 60. But it's more than that. The way the word tena is written, it's 59, tet, and then nun, and then one. What is that? That's a hint that the ratio of the first fruit you bring is 1 in 60. Okay, so 1 to 59, 1 in 60 is the amount of the first fruits you're supposed to bring. So if you have 60, I don't know, 60 bushels of apples, you bring one, right? So you bring that's now. Let's understand the deeper meaning of that. When you come into the land and you plant and you're a person of the earth, you can lose connection with what your source is. Because how did the tree grow? Because I planted and I watered and I did this and I did that and I pruned and all this stuff. And now I'm the natural cycle of life. And I believe that this is a closed system, like a circle, like a samech. It's a closed system. I'm stuck because I don't realize that the whole ability for this fruit to become fruit and to give me life is because outside the system is the source of the system, God, who is propelling this. And that's why the bikurim is so important. Because what happens is that there's no samach in there, because the samach means you can get stuck in the circle. It's a circle, it goes around. Now, a circle could be good in the fact that it contains a greater thing, or it can be bad because you can be trapped in it. So if you're trapped in the circle and you feel that, how did these fruits get here? Because it's a natural process. You're stuck. And thereby you need to take one out and say, this is from its source. And the whole thing now comes with this. I break the samech. I break the circle that traps me to be caught in nature and to believe that things just move because they move there in a closed system. That is the idea of samech. So samech really has two powers. It's fascinating. There's another measure that says that the force of negativity, the Satan we talked about before, was created in the first time the samech appears in the Torah. It says that what happened was Adam was put to sleep, tardema, deep slumber, and then God created the woman, separated two halves of Adam, created the woman, and then Vayiskor Basar Tachtem, he closed the wound, the flesh, closed it. The letter Samech appears there, Vayiskor, he closed. The Medrash says that's when the Satan was created. What is that deeper meaning? That's when Adam was put to sleep. When you put to sleep, that's the part where you can get lost in whatever system it is. I'm not conscious, I'm not aware, I'm not realizing where things are really at. That's the samech. It's amazing because the Medrash says, wait a minute, there's another samech that appears in Torah before this one. It says that by the rivers that came out of Garden of Eden, came out of Eden, they soved, they encircled. That's also a samech. So the Medrash says, yeah, but the rivers are different. What does that mean it was different? I think what it means is that rivers, which is expansion of water here that could be the samech that's positive, that could be the bigger, what's called the or makif, the thing that surrounds, that is beyond me. I realize something beyond me. If I realize something beyond me, and I can keep going and going, and I am not trapped. Once I get trapped in the samech, in the circle, that's a problem. And that is the danger of the month of Kislev. It's cold. You're getting in the rooms. You're going into your own world now. You're in the samech, and potentially you're also going into slumber, to sleep. The days are getting the shortest of the year. And we get lost in the darkness. That is we said in the beginning. The Sefer Yetzirah says that it's created with the samech as the letter and sleep. Now, why is Binyamin then the tribe that lines up with this? Well, Binyamin in a certain sense, is the opposite of habitual attitudes and slumber. And that's what I said earlier. Binyamin is yearning all the time that God's presence should come to his territory. He has what's called chukka. He has the yearning for it, which is the opposite of the habituation of the samach and the falling asleep. And you could think, oh, wait a minute, like the way time is. There are many times, there are different times, 28, 18, 28 structures of time that God puts us in these times. We're stuck in time. The idea of being in a time is that is your job now. So when you're in Kislev and you're in short days and you're in slumber and you're in habit, the solution is to have the yearning of Binyamin to always grow. He's always saying, but there's one little part of the base of Migdash that runs there that's not in my territory, and he wants to swallow it up every day. It says he wants to get it back. So that is the antidote to the samach and to the sleep. Okay, beautiful. Now let's go one step further now. So we answered a little bit the month, the samech and the sleep and binyamin and Kislev, wanting God's presence to be in the world. But we have to go to the original question that the student asked, which is what does this tie with another one of the excuse me months? Excuse me again, and the month of Sivan. So I want to show you something here. I want to show you a diagram that we can hopefully look at and understand a little bit. I hope you can see this on your screen. I'm not positive I'm doing this right. So if you can see it on your screen, great. If you can't, I'm going to explain and spell it out. So there's 12 months of the year, but really the way to look at the months is that there are 6 that parallel 6. It's a very, very deep idea. There's the male months, the female months, and they parallel each other. So if you could see this on my screen, great. If you can't, I'll read it to you. But we'll start with the first month. The first month is Nisan. That's lined up with Yehuda. Now, 6 months later, what parallels that is the month of Tishrei. Oh, that's very interesting, because really they both are the first. There's actually an argument in the Talmud, when was the world created? And the answer is both. The Nisan is called the first of the months for the Jewish people. It's when the world actually came into existence, the Maisa. And Tishrei is the world was conceived first, so to speak, and that's called the first of the months for the year. One's for the Jewish people, Nisan, and one's for the way the world was created. The beginning of the concept of the world is lined up with Tishrei. So that's beautiful. That's the first. Okay. Now, from the first, we go to the second. If you can see my chart, if not, try to just imagine it. The second month of the year from Nisan is called Iyar. And that lines up with now the 6 months later, which is Mar Cheshvan. Now, both of those months are very, very fascinating because they're both, in a certain sense, not ideal months. Mar Cheshvan is the bitter Cheshvan, one explanation, different meanings of it. But one is that, why? There's no holidays in there. No holidays in the month of Mar Cheshvan. Iyar is, today we mourn the deaths of the 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva. In the times of the Beis Hamikdash, it was positive, it was counting the Omer, but the point is, it was still counting. It was not arrived to where it has to be. You have the first month, and then the month's a transition month. So Nisan, and then the transition month of Iyar, or alternatively, Tishrei and a transition month of Cheshvan. And now if you look at, if you can see my chart, the next month is Sivan, okay, the month where we got the Torah. And if you go 6 months later, it parallels the month of Kislev, the month that we're coming to right now, which is our students' real question. What's the connection between the two? So Sivan is parallel to Kislev. Now, how does that work? How is it parallel? So let's understand this. Let's understand the secret of three. Okay, secret of three, because they're both the third month, just from 6 months apart. Let's understand what's secret of three. When God created the world on the first day, it says Yom Echad, day one. It didn't say first day. Why not? The sages tell us because the day one was not a chain connection to the other days. Day one was there was no other created entities. God created the angels, the spirit, the spiritual forces in the second day. So it's a day of oneness. Yom Echad, day one. And it says day one was good. Day two in creation, it says that God split the upper waters and the lower waters. And it does not say in day two, Kitov, that was good. Why not? So there's different explanations. One is because God started the process of the waters, but it wasn't completed till the third day. And anything that's not complete is not good. So again, number two is in transition. The second explanation is day two is the day that God separated the upper waters and lower waters, which means division came into the world. Separation, conflict came into the world. And therefore it does not say at all it was good. Day three, when God completed the job of the waters were created now, the waters and land, dry land, it says it was good two times, Kitov twice. Okay? It was the finishing of two and culmination of three. Now, let me just explain what this means. This is the way the world always works. You have oneness, and then you have the creation of two, of duality. Duality is potentially a big problem. You could think there's other powers in the world, there's division, there's arguments. But then, if you could synthesize the two and create the balance, the third, which is unites, puts the two that were opposites, puts it in a balance and connects them, then what happens is you have good. And that's why three is such a significant a number. So why it says the Gemara says that God gave the three aspects of Torah, the prophets, the writings, to the nation of three, as Kohanim, Levi, Yisrael, and the third month, the month of Sivan, after 3 days. Three. Why three? Because again, one starts the process, two brings it into this world where there can be conflict, and then three is the resolution, the synthesis. Okay, it's a synthesis of the now. So look at what happened here. This idea of the third month is beautiful now because it parallels the third month, which is Sivan, parallels the third month here, which is Kislev. What happened in the third month from the beginning, from Nisan? God gave the Torah. The world, there was a problem. We were in Egypt. They had their wisdom, which was Kislev, which was conflicting the truth of the world. It's called Kislev because it's machish pamash. It contradicts truth in Torah. So we were in Egypt. God took us out of Egypt in the first month, led us in the second month, the third month already we came to wholeness and we got the Torah. The same thing happens now in the other process of the third one. We have Tishrei, okay, Tishrei, and we're leading to the second month. And then in the third month, we have completion also. What's the completion of the third month? There is the completion of the Beis Hamikdash, of the temple. That God's presence comes to reside. That's Hanukkah. That's exactly what happens. You have the same parallel. We're during Hanukkah, under the rule of the Greeks. Their wisdom is the human wisdom they're trying to make as being the truth. Okay, but it's limited, it's wrong. Because the human mind can understand certain things that it go beyond. Like I said many times, it's when Aristotle, Maimonides, compliments him very much. Rama compliments him and says, he got as far as a person can with his human mind. Nachman, his Ramban, curses him. He says the cursed Aristo. Why? He says because he only could believe what he could conceive in his mind. I don't know. That's so bad. He gets the curse. Yeah, because Aristotle didn't do scientific experiments. He sat back in his armchair, and if it made sense in his mind, then it was true. And if it didn't, it wasn't true. So Newtonian physics made sense in your mind, but relativity doesn't make sense. Quantum physics doesn't make sense. There's certain parts that don't fit. But Aristotle, that was not it, because the human being, humanism was the center of the earth, and there couldn't be anything beyond. And that's why Ramban says it was cursed. But what happens is that the beginning was under the subjugation of the wisdom of the Greeks. And then we go to the process of 1, 2, and 3. In the third month, Kislev, we win. The wisdom of the Torah comes and is now front and center. And that's why the sages tell us, the Noah says that the great Greek philosophers are all gone after Hanukkah. He says, because why? Because they took the human mind and they wanted to use the wisdom, and there was a battle. And that was the real war of Hanukkah, was between how to use the human mind. The Jewish people said you have to take the human mind, apply it to the Torah, understand what God said, and then the human mind can take the Torah and express it and be an expression of Torah. It's the greatest thing in the world. The Greeks said, no, we have our own ideas. We're our own gods. The God is like a person, because the humanism is the center. Can't be higher than that. So what happens is that if you look at this parallelism, you see an amazing thing. It's both the same thing. First, second, and third month comes to the completion. In the third month, on the first side, Nisan, Iyar, and Sivan, we get the Torah. That's the third month for the 3 aspects of Torah. To the people that have Kohanim, Levim, Yisrael have the 3 aspects. Why? Because at that moment we're getting out of the wisdom of the Egyptians and getting the written Torah, getting the Torah. On the other side is also a process of 3 happening. The third month there being the month of Kislev, when now we are under the wisdom of the human wisdom of the Greeks, and now in the third month there, we come to express human wisdom in the ultimate way of the Torah She'ba'al Peh, the oral Torah. And that's why the greatness of the oral Torah really starts then. That's when you hear oral Torah. Before that, it was there, but the flourishing of oral Torah happens during this period of time in the Bayeshin, the Second Temple. Now, this is fascinating now. So let's just hang with me here a second to understand this. If you look at the chart, and if you're able to see it, I hope you are, then Nisan, Iyar, and Sivan are all the children of Leah, while the first 3, Tishrei, Mar Cheshvan, and Kislev, are all the children of Rachel. Now, this is very significant. Why? Because Rachel is called the Akeres Habayis. She is the main essence of the house. Leah, in certain aspects, is a different quality. And Leah does bear the giver of the Torah, Shevet Levi, Moshe. And she is that wisdom, that understanding that comes into the world through Leah. And that is the month of Sivan when we get the Torah. That's Shavuos. Rachel's quality is a different quality. Rachel's quality is not the understanding, the wisdom, it's the application. It's bringing that into the world. And that's why if you look, you'll see the month of Tishrei, Mar Cheshvan, and Kislev, which all parallel the children of Rachel, right? Because Yosef splits into 2. Tishrei is Ephraim, Mar Cheshvan is called Menashe, and Kislev is called Binyamin. Those are the 3 months that the temple is built in. The first place it means it was built in Tishrei. The second one with the Chashmonaim is in Kislev. And the Bnei Yissaschar says the third one will be in Mar Cheshvan in time of Menashe. Why is that? Because Rachel is the Akeres Abayis. She is the one who assimilates and brings it into this world. In the same way I just explained to you that the written Torah and the oral Torah. The written Torah, when we got on Har Sinai, when we fought off the Egyptians who had their kishuf, their witchcraft that fought against the truth of Torah, so we were able to receive the Torah. But on the other side, on the side of Rachel now, what happens is you have the quality of the oral Torah, which means that it's not just you have the understanding that you're getting from God, it's you're assimilating in yourself. That's Rachel. That's Eretz Yisrael. That's why Rachel is the aspect of the Akeres Abayis, where she is the one who represents the idea of the land of Israel speaking the truth itself. Eretz Yisrael, Eretz, the land, Yashar, straight to Kel, to Hashem. The land itself shows you God. That's a very different idea than I know it in my head. That's the idea that now it's come into the world. And that's why Rachel's children are all the expression of the Beis Hamikdash, because it's not Har Sinai. Once God's presence left, Har Sinai is no longer has any holiness. It's the revelation of Torah. But to bring it into ourselves, into our own existence, and into the physical world, that's a completely different idea. That's the power of Rachel. That's the power of this month of Kislev. So what we have is like this. We have a month of Kislev, which parallels the other side, the combination of the 3 months, but it's different. On the other side of the month of Sivan, we're given the Torah from the heavens. Moshe Kibel Torah Sinai. Moshe brings the Torah down, and the assimilation of that into our existence is the month of Kislev. It's the month where now we now feel it in ourselves. That's when the Torah She'ba'al Peh, the oral Torah, the wisdom that came out from the human mind's application of the Torah, is in full bloom. That is the story of the Chashmonaim, and that's the story of the Beis Hamikdash. That's a story of bringing the knowledge that you have into the world, that the whole land resonates. It's an incredible thing. It's like, when a person becomes a more spiritual person and they do something wrong, there's an incredible thing that happens. There's a physical response that a person feels bad. The idea of busha. Busha, if a person feels embarrassed, they know they did the wrong thing. So what's the solution? The solution is not to go to the psychologist to get rid of your inhibitions. The solution is that you have a physical response as a barometer telling you you're doing something off. It's an incredible thing. That means the body is being transformed and is tuned into what is right itself. It's very different than knowing it in your head. And that is the power of Kislev. Kislev is the time, the darkest time of the year. You can go to sleep. You can get caught in the samach, in the circle. That's what could happen. Or you could be Binyamin and yearn to break out of that. And when you break out of that, then you become a vehicle to bring the divine presence to the world, like the Chashmonaim did. I was heard from my Rebbe Zatzal. He used to always say, when we say the Alanisim, we say that Hashem gave Zaydim, he gave the Zaydim, the intentional sinners, biad oskei sarasecha, to the hands of the ones who were busy in Torah. We got the wrong picture here, with the Maccabee games, and they were great warriors. No, they weren't great warriors. Okay, they were in the sense, but what they were is they were oskei Torah secha. They were busy with learning Torah. That's who they were. Yes, they were good warriors, but it wasn't they weren't training in the gym. What they were doing is they developed the fire of Torah. That's who they were. And so therefore, Hanukkah time is the time of bringing the Torah into ourselves, bringing God's presence into our reality. There's two different vessels in the Beis Hamikdash that represent wisdom. One is the ark, the Aron, which Hashem speaks to Moshe between the Keruvim, and the second one is called the menorah. The menorah has the Ben Machai has 7 candelabras, 7 branches of the candelabra, and the 7 wisdoms. And it's light, and light is wisdom, and that's really why the representation of the miracle of Hanukkah is lighting the menorah, because it's the victory over the wisdom of the Torah over the Greek wisdom. But if you look at it, it's a fascinating thing. You'll see that the ark, the Aron, it's not our actions. God speaks to Moshe. The voice comes from above, and it comes out, and Moshe hears it. The menorah, the candelabra, you have to physically go light. It's the action of the people to integrate. Like the Gemara says, people are foolish. They stand up for a Sefer Torah. They don't stand up for a Torah scholar. Why is it foolish? Because if a Torah scholar's done it, he's made himself into a Torah, a living Torah. He has assimilated that information. And that is really one of the crucial things in Musar and everything else that we're doing in life. Is it's one thing to know it, it's another thing to assimilate it. Another thing to make it part of our existence. We mentioned the month before Kislev, which we're leaving now. It's finishing Mar Cheshvan. Mar Cheshvan is as we said, is the month there's no holidays. But there's also another idea that it's also referred to Mar Cheshvan is the Saim Maracheshes. The mouth is still moving from the high holidays. So you have Tishrei, and you're speaking, and there's still an expression that your Maracheshes means to keep moving your mouth, moving your lips, because it's still in us. There's an aspect of a person that even when they reach a certain level and then it's gone, there's a certain residue that remains, a roshem, that's still there, and that has to be fanned and brought into fruition. And the way that we do that is to move our mouths by pushing it to bring it inside of us. The Musar rabbis, the chiddush of Musar rabbis was not to learn Musar. That wasn't the chiddush. To read a Musar book was not the point. The point was to say the sign delkus, to say with excitement that you would integrate it and become part of you, and that's Kislev. Kislev is when the Torah becomes part of us, the Choshmonoim, when the divine presence goes from the giving of the Torah on Har Sinai to now living in us, with us in the Beis Hamikdash, and that the land itself resonates and shows godliness. Okay, all the best, everyone. I hope you enjoyed.